Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili Nishmasi Mimirosi Ruspas Mordechai. Welcome to all the guests. We have here 3 generations of the Josephs. This is the famous Avi, right? The child stumper, the guy that got me a couple of times in Chicago, right here. So all the way from Chicago, Yishkoyach. Thanks for being there almost every day. Thank you. Thanks for bringing your dad. You do the daf dad or was it?
I do everything.
With me?
Yeah.
You do? Oh, beautiful. Wow. All right. Who's that? Shalom Aleichem. You look like Shalom Rand a little bit from this, you know? What's your name? Sun and Shine, Yankee. From? Manchester. They have Sun and Shines in Manchester too. You related to all the Sunshines in New York? Chaim Berlin? No? Okay, Givaldic. We have an email here from Rafal the Barber. So nice to see that you give the haircut to Yossi Klein's son. It's a shame you didn't use the special MDY barber cape I gave you. But it's better that way because if you start giving haircuts and I tried to give the daf, everyone would lose out. Dear Belly, this is from Barry Gross in London. Hope you enjoyed the video of my 11-year-old son, Micha, school like Ba'omer trip. He got his teacher to record him. Starting to do the daf with you in Chagiga, made his first siyum on Chagiga. When I made a siyum Shas, having started the last cycle Yevamos. So the father made a siyum Shas, the son started Chagiga. My son has continued through Yevamos, clearly gets a geschmack from the shir. Thanks for showing him that learning can be done with tremendous simcha. Thank you also for constantly bringing Divrei Musa to life. Your down-to-earth, practical engagement shir is exactly what, in my humble opinion, the next generation and many of my generation need. I really learning the daf as much an avoid of achdus as it is limud Torah. What you and the MDY team have done is a testament to that. You should be blessed with good health and continued success and ruchnis and gashmias, and to always be able to deliver your shiurim and passion and simcha. Amen. Have a good Shabbos. Barry Gross, London. Here it is, Rabbi Isai. You have some speakers going? No. Okay, we'll have to do that again. Nice and loud. Gershon, you ready?
Good morning, Rabbi Isai.
Okay, Givaldic. Oh, this is a very, very interesting email I got from Reb Fischel. You see these people? These are descendants from, I'll tell you in a second. It's the 19th yard site, sponsored good friend Dr. Cliff Price, Akiv ben Avram Avinu, who was submariner on the USS Robert E. Lee, who be'etzem is traced back to Robert E. Lee. These are guys from the MDY Mishpacha who are descendants of Robert E. Lee plantation. V'yesh oimer Robert Lee himself. The Kitzer, Cliff had the strongest handshake in the young Israel, Shemer Emunah. It's a testament that maybe he's taka from that Mishpacha. The first time Cliff saw Eretz Yisrael 55 years ago was through the lens of a periscope during the 6-Day War, when the U.S. Navy was charged with keeping the Russians out of the Mediterranean, was responding to the stress call from the recently hit U.S. Liberty. Ayin Sham. Okay, Ayin Sham, Rabbi say Ayin Sham, from all his friends at Official Kosher Caterers. This is, good morning, Eli. Good morning, my son wakes up, comes straight to the dining room and wanted to learn the daf today. Mamish Masmidim before breakfast. Yiddish Schwartz. And here we have at the Stoliner Lag Ba'omer. It's unbelievable. People from all walks of life. Well, these are a lot of Stoliner Hasidim and non-Stoliner. They realized that they're all part of the MDY Mishpacha, so they got together and they took a picture. And Mikatza L'Katza, here we go. So here we have Stoliner Hasidim. Here somebody spotted a guy with his own MDY gear. I don't know how he got it. He put his MDY gear on a little bit of a standout kind of clothing because he was in the middle of Meishar, in the middle of the hatzlacha over there. And look what he's wearing. Take a quick look. Look at his cap. Hold on. This is a video that goes with it without sound. You cannot get that cap on mdymerch.com. So, hi Rebelli, I've been learning the daf since brachas, but fell out at the beginning of Yevamos because it was much harder than the previous few mesechtas. Then Shnei Zalman Twersky pulled me to the live shir in Chicago, and I've been hooked ever since. Thank you. Tonight, Yerushalayim at the hatzlacha of Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter. I noticed some MDY merch in the crowd. Here's a video of it. You the glassman. Okay, Rabbi Isai, here we go. The koil is sponsored Lzchus shiduchim. Parnasah chodesh Eli nishmas. Zechrya Shimon הכהן וואלערשטיין. Zechus bracha by his kids. Parnasah chodesh Ahron Fraiman Lzchus. Continuing parnasah siyadta dishmaya hatzlacha the rebelli. Parnasah chodesh the boy or family Eli nishmas. Rebel ben Reb Avraham. Their family friend has only passed away at the age of 59. He loved MDY. And parnasah chodesh the Wolkenstein family. Im ein kemach im ein Torah ein kemach. By the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood NJ, because the Torah is segulah. L'ilo nishmas chaya bas Yosef. And as HaKaras HaTov Hashem as zechus for continual health and bracha. Today is sponsored by Dvorah and Yosef Korn for the yard side of Yehuda Lei ben Yosef bן-ציון. Ben Yosef bן-ציון. Joel Goldenberg, Lulu Nishmas Moshe Cheskel Shrago ben Ahron Fraiman Shalom for Shloishim. The Price family, Lulu Nishmas Akiva ben Avram, Dr. Clifton Price. Shia Greenfield. You miss him. Did I see? I don't think I saw him in New York. Upon the birth of a healthy baby boy. You guys remember Shia Greenfield, the chassid, the electrician from Borough Park? Yeah, big sponsor of this year. All right, here we go, Rabbi Isai. I have a riddle. I forgot the product. I was supposed to bring a little bit of oil and light it, make hatzlacha here, and ask you the following question. I'll ask you the question without the oil. Why is it that I'm allowed to light this oil? Because Rabbi Schoenberg is here in the room and because Donnie is here in the room. But otherwise I wouldn't be able to light the oil. No. Truma. He's not allowed to use it for that. Yeah. Well, but I'm allowed to use it. We're allowed to use it. Okay, so we'll see. Yeah, Tomei Truma. Truma Trey. Even Bizman Hazeh. They give out the. You ever got that, Rabbi Schoenberg? You got free oil from these companies? You ever got free oil? So, a guy in the car they give him like a box of oil from the Truma. I was going to go pick it up from his house, but then the ADD kicked in and I forgot. All right. So, we are. 6 lines from the bottom. We're doing well. Let's keep it up. 6 lines from Ein Gimel Amud Beis on the bottom. Va'oichlem betumas atzmon loike mashe enkein betruma. We're saying the difference between bikurim and meiser sheni and truma. That if the bikurim and the meiser sheni are tamei, the fruit itself is tamei. If you eat it, you get malchus mashe enkein betruma. Milgo de la lucky. When it comes to truma, you don't get malchus, but you definitely over isur minala and amakra b'shorecha techlanu. Lzchus. We learned yesterday b'shorecha that you eat the b'char together, a tamei and a tar eat from the same bowl, so there's no isur. Lzchus v'lo ilacher, not for truma. V'lav abom echlal asay. So there's an isur asay, but no malchus. Omer Avashi. So let's go back for a second. The question, we're going to be dealing with it a little bit today as well. And that was the question yesterday. Arel, somebody that doesn't have a bris milah, can he eat meiser sheni or not? So we wanted to prove from this brisa that talks about the differences between bikurim, truma, and meiser sheni. If an arel is aser, it should bring it as one of the differences. So the Gemara for that said, well, yeah, it's not a good raya, because maybe it does belong there in the brisa, but ton of ishir. I didn't want to give you the whole long list, I gave you some examples. So now the Gemara, where are some examples we didn't bring? So we brought from the Seifa. Now the Gemara is going to say, no, there's also examples in the Reisha. Amar Rav Ashi. Mereisha nami shamis mino the ton of ishir. Again, you want to say again. We brought a brisa that tells you the differences between bikurim and truma and meiser sheni. Well, if meiser sheni in fact is aser for an arel, so here I have an example. Meiser sheni is aser for an arel, bikurim and truma is mutar for an arel. Why is it not in this brisa with all the differences between meiser sheni and truma and bikurim? The reason is because I just didn't have room to fit it in there. It should be in there. Just there's a lot of things on the list. I omitted some of the things. But you can't just leave out one thing. You need to leave out 2 things, 3 things. You can't just leave out one. So what else did we leave out? I'll tell you what we left out. I left out a few things even in the beginning. Why? Middeloika Tani, here, Judah, get over here. Get over here. I need to talk to you. Come. Middeloika Tani v'noigim b'shar shnei shavua ve'en lem pidyon ma she'en kein b'meiser shma mino. So, here, if we go to the list over here, you see on the bottom, get over here. The bottom it says Meiser Sheni is year 1245. Okay. So how come it doesn't say that? There's a difference. Meiser Sheni is only 125, and Trum is in all the years. Bikurim is in all the years. Okay, so we missed one thing. Yesterday, he asked me a kasha mil shir, and I just blew him off. I made fun of him, kind of. I have to ask him, Achila, you were right. You're right, my friend. Well, that's it? A side thing? Okay. I'll tell you. You know where this whole... You have to be paida. What happened? I said, you have to be paida Meiser Sheni. He explained to me after shir what he was talking about. You have to be paida Meiser Sheni when if it's too much for you to carry all the fruit, so you redeem it for money. And then you take that money and you add a little bit. You add a chaimish, a fifth, milabar, 20%, 25%, whatever. So
5%. It's 20.
You know this stuff. So I said it's like a einish, it's a knas. He said it's not a knas, it's a procedure. So I looked it up. By the way, it happens to be that it's in this week's parasha. The idea of, so you'll see it at the end of the parasha, 4 psukim before the end of the parasha. It's 1 pause before maftir. Check it out over there. It talks about. But I was looking everywhere. I was trying to find somebody so badly that says that it's a knas. Nobody really. I couldn't find anybody. But the chinuch says that the reason is why. You ever thought about it? Why? He's right. At the end of the day, you're right. You knew it all along. Fill in my chair. Judah, the fill in my chair. Where were you from last? You see, you come one day and you put me in my spot. We need you here. Don't ever leave us like that again. Oh. Nice beard. So the chinuch says, interesting reason, very, very interesting, and you should look it up. Look at its siman, you can't forget this, shas, shin, samach, shas. He says an unbelievable thing. Once I was looking around, I found this thing. It's givaldik. Why does Hashem say that you have to give an extra 20%? He says, or why do you even do this whole meiser business? Or bring it to Yerushalayim. He says, and it reminds me of today, you go to Yerushalayim because that's where Torah is. There's a lot of Torah in Yerushalayim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted that all these people from Tzfat and from Tveria, from area, go to Yerushalayim so that at least one person in their family remains there with all the food and stays there in yeshiva and comes back, and you don't have amaratzim all over Eretz Yisrael. That's like similar today. We send our kids, we send the children to Eretz Yisrael to learn 1 year seminary. Talmud Dvara, by the way, is a great seminary. Talmud Dvara. You can't get in. If you need to get in, call me. I haven't gotten anybody in yet, but I'd love to be your help. I'll go upon him. I also tried to get something that got shut down. You tried? Good. The G'daylim tried. Rav Asher Weiss tried. Sorry, I'm serious. No, don't even try with the protection. However, they do need a new dorm. So, okay. So, I'll go upon him, Vaifen. Carry him. Arabic money, all the Zachen. He's ready to go to Dubai again. Okay, so. So that's, what do I want to say? In Shin Nun Beis, it says, what is the reason that we're holding in Meiser Sheni? What is the reason that you have to do a chaimish? So he says, the chinuch, if anybody has a source that it's a knas, I would love it. Call back Judah. He says that because people cheat a little bit. When they trade in their fruit for money, they won't be exact. So they'll rip off hegdish a little bit. And we want to make sure that they do it the right way. So just add an extra 20%. Like this, you're not taking from hegdish. Okay. Zog the Gemara. Toshma, nishtayr by tzitzin ma'akvim samilon. Again, we're trying to prove whether or not a RL could eat Meiser Sheni. So, a person did Mila, like that person that left me the message that he did it on his son and he by mistake left a little bit of skin of Arla, Tzitzina Ma'akrim Mila, it's not a good Mila. This guy is considered a Arel, so therefore he can't eat Lebe Truma, Velebe Pesach, he can't eat the Karban Pesach, Velebe Kachim. What's a Karban Pesach? A Karban. What's Kachim? A Karban. Velebe Meiser. What's Meiser? L'chayra Meiser Sheni. My love, Meiser Dagon. We're talking about Meiser Sheni. And it says that a Arel, right? We're talking about a Arel, a guy that has Tzitzina Ma'akvim, he's a Arel, cannot eat Meiser Sheni. That's a raya against what we're talking about. L'chayra, it's a raya that you could eat, Arel cannot eat Meiser, or it's a raya that you can't eat Meiser Sheni if you're Arel. Says Gemara, not a good raya. Loi, Meiser Behema. Again, by the way, this is in Parshas Shavua. Meiser Behema. That every 10 animals goes for Meiser. So why is it that it goes for Meiser? Every 10 animals. You count 1, 2, 3, 4. Reb Meilech Biderman says, because that 10th animal was lazy. It didn't push to get in there, so... Is there a way to think, no, Yosef, you have a svara to say fakert? Anybody have a opposite svara that what?
That's not, if there's 100 and there's every 10 guy there's, so it's not lazy.
Yeah, what about in Pesach? We said that the Kata Tzlonim it's called, says Leiby. Kata Tzlonim.
He gets to be kachim. He let everybody go ahead.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Levi Freeman. Oh, very good. I was thinking about Miron. If you don't push, you're a mensch. You let everybody go. He gets to be the carbon for carrot. So Shiloh. Okay. You can look at it differently. Says the Gemara. So you're talking about Meiser Loi, but Meiser Behema. We're not talking about Meiser of food. We're talking about animals. Says Gemara, Meiser Behema Hainu Kachim. What, you're going to say Kachim twice? You said Pesach Kachim and Meiser. So why you say Meiser? Meiser is a type of Kachim, a type of, it has Kedusha. Says Gemara, Pesach, Kachim. But it also says Karban Pesach. So why say Kachim and Karban Pesach? So that we have a reason. Bishlam Pesach, Kachim Tzrichi, Ditana Pesach. I need both of them. Kachim and Karban Pesach. Ditana Pesach, Mishum da Arelos bePesach Ksiva. I need to say that all other Karbanos also an Arel is not Asr. Why? The Arel is Asr. Because Pesach, it says Mefurish, but maybe other Kachim not. Vitana Kachim, Havamina my Kachim Pesach. But if it only said the word Kachim, I wouldn't know what it means. I would say, oh, probably Kachim, because that's what the Torah talks about. But at the end of the day, why does the Torah? Why does it have to say Meiser Behema? It already says Kachim. So I have a different shot. What is the word Meiser? It can mean different things. Ella Meiser Rishon. So if you look at the chart, we hardly ever discuss the one in red, but it's also called Meiser, and that is I found yesterday when I was looking around for Judah in Mikrois Gedolos of Art Scroll. I found this in the back. Just to give you a little bit of a picture. Here's 100 barrels, and it shows you that the 2 first barrels are in red. It's a little bit hard to see maybe from a distance. That's Truma. The orange is almost 9.8 barrels of Meiser Rishon, of Meiser. Meiser Rishon that we give the Levi. And if you look over there's a little bracket. One of those orange barrels, the first one, is what the Levi gives to the Kohen. Trumas Meiser. And then you go all the way down, the green is 8.8 barrels of green. It's the 10% of what's left over. Of the 88 barrels that are left over, you give 10%, that's the green. Okay, if you want to see it, if you want to picture it. So I go bottom. The 10% that we give a Levi after you take off 2% from the 90, so you have 98%, you give 10% to the Levi. That's what we're talking about. That Meiser, if a guy is an Arel, he can't eat that Meiser. Who? The Levi. So what's Pshat? Elamaiser Rishon, Remeiri. That's a very big chiddush because Remeir is by himself. The Omar Meiser Rishon Asal Lazar. Almost everybody holds that Meiser Rishon that goes to the Levi could share with his friends the Yisrael. And therefore, an Arel could also eat. It doesn't have Kedusha like that. But Rameir says, no, it's Kaddish, it's only for the Levi, and therefore, an Arel is Asr. So that's how I'll explain. So I still don't have a raya whether or not an Arel cannot eat Meiser Sheni. Because this is a raya to Meiser Rishon, not to Meiser Sheni. Tashma. Okay, so we need another raya. Midatani Reb Chia Barav Mirav Medifti, Arel Asr B'shtei Meisros. Arel is Asr in 2 Meisros. My love. So what are we talking about? Echad ma'aser daga and echad ma'aser behema. Here's a good raya that oral, somebody that doesn't have a bris, is also to eat ma'aser sheni. Again, a Yisrael that has all this crap, he takes 10% almost every year. Year 1, 2, 4, 5, he takes for himself 10% to Yerushalayim. If he's an oral, he can't eat. But it doesn't say what. No. Again, we'll say that's talking about Meiser. The two Meisers are not referring to Meiser Sheni. He's talking about Meiser Behema and Meiser Rishon. Tashma. Oinen Asur B'Meiser. So take a look at this chart for a second. Very simple brisa. What the brisa is trying to do, it takes three categories. Oinen, a guy that lost a relative that day. A Tful Yom. Somebody who was Tameh went to the mikvah before nighttime, so it's Tful Yom. Mechusar Kippurim is very similar. He goes to the mikvah, but he must bring a carbon the following morning. So he's still in a quasi state of tumah. He's semi-tameh because he went to the mikvah, but he didn't bring his carbon yet. He went to the mikvah, it's not hair of shemesh yet, he's a Tful Yom. Oinen. What the Bryce is trying to do is, as you see the three, forget the bottom part where it says Aral, it's tic-tac-toe. There's 3 X's in a row. In other words, Einen has 1 X, Tful Yom has 1 X, and Mechusar Kippurim has 1 X. But they're all on different things. That's what the Bryce is trying to show you, how these 3 things are different in one way. The Einen cannot eat Meiser. The Tful Yom cannot eat Truma. And the Mechusar Kippurim cannot do the avoid of the Paraduma. But everything else, they're the same. So what the Gemara is going to ask is, if I'm playing a game like this, or I shouldn't call it play a game, but if I'm doing this kind of interesting chart, why don't I just put an Aral in there as well? Here's an Aral that he also has an X. He's Asur in Truma and Mutter in Meiser. The Raya is that he's Asur in Meiser. So he doesn't fit in this chart. He's going to have 2 X's. He's going to be like this. This doesn't work. That's why he's not in the chart. That's all the Gemara is going to do it. Let's see inside. Einen Asur b'Meiser. Umutter b'Truma b'Para. The 2 things he's mutter is Para and Truma. How do we know he's mutter in a Para? Rashi says Kavachomer from a Tful Yom. He's less tameh than a Tful Yom. A Tful Yom who's a little bit of a tumah to him, he's still waiting for Shkia. He could do the avoid in the Para. Certainly a guy that lost his parents. Tful Yom, also b'Truma. The one thing that's also for him is Truma. Umutter b'Para b'Meiser. Mechusar Kippurim, also b'Para, Umutter b'Truma b'Meiser. Yeah, it's a little bit better, I think, with a chart. It's sort of confusing with all the words. V'Misa, and if you're right that Aral is mutter in Meiser Sheni, shouldn't he also fit into this chart? Misni Aral also b'Truma, Umutter b'Para b'Meiser. So you see from here that he's not mutter in Meiser. He's Asur Meiser, and therefore he has 2 X's, and he just doesn't fit into this kind of chart. Says Gemara, Haitana de Bei Rebbe Kivi. No, not a good ride from this bride. So that goes according to Rebbe Kiva. The Marbele Arel Ketame, as we had the other days. Rebbe Kiva holds the Arel is Tame himself. The sign Rebbe Kiva, Oimer Ishish. The rabbi says Arel. Uman Tana the Palagali de Rebbe Kiva, and who argued with Rebbe Kiva? Tana the Rebbe Yosi. Ha-Bavli, the Tanakama of Rabbi Yosef, Ha-Bavli. By the way, very rarely do you see in Shas, Rabbi Yosef. You see Rabbi Yossi, you see Rabbi Yosef, and that, we have to pause here for a second and say, Shkoich to Yosef. Yosef Bilyak. I was reading, Yosef Bilyak, Avada. I don't know if you guys have enough from him, but maybe, yeah, when you miss Shiurim and stuff, but all the chutzniks, they know what to appreciate. Okay, so Yishkoich Rabbi Yosef. Tana Rabbi Yosef, Habavlihi. The Tanya, it's the Tanakama in Rabbi Yosef. Not Rabbi Yosef, the Tanakama in Rabbi Yosef, the Tanya. Sreifas Oinen, the Para Aduma, the burning of the Para Aduma. By Oinen, Umachusar Kippurim, Ksheira. Now, if you look at the chart, in our chart it says Mechusar Kippurim. What's the one thing that's no good by Mechusar Kippurim? Is the Para. And over here it says Ksheira. Rabbi Yosef Abavli Omer earning Ksheira, Mechusar Kippurim Psula. Rabbi Yosef Abavli also says Pasal. So Rashi says a very interesting thing. Since we're already arguing on Mechusar Kippurim, so therefore we could argue on another thing. So he argues on us on Aral as well. what's the okay? It's a certain kind of limud. He's already arguing because over here we have an X and he holds. Fine. Says the Gemara of Afra Yitzchak Savar Oral also b'maiser. Okay, so now we have another Mandamar that holds that an Oral, someone that doesn't have bris, cannot eat maiser sheni. How do I know this? Nemar mimenu b'maiser and nemar mimenu b'pesach. We have Gzeira Shava. Ma mimenu amar b'pesach Oral also boy. Af mimenu amar b'maiser Oral also boy. We know mefurish pasuk that an Oral cannot eat Korban Pesach. So since it says the word mimenu here and it says the word mimenu by maiser as well. So we say Meiser or Oral can't eat. Says the Gemara Mufni. Yesterday I was talking to somebody, I forgot his name, a guest, as if I'm a Gemara. I said, yeah, it has to be Mufni. It's just the Amud later. So either what? That's who it was, Hachhauser. Yeah. Either way, it's embarrassing. Either I pretended that I didn't learn it when I learned it, or I didn't learn it and it's Amud ahead. I should know it as the Maggid. It's no gaiva, okay, that I was mechamed to this Gemara. But it says in the Mefurish in the Gemara, Mufni. The Gzeira Shava has to be, again, so you have Gzeira Shava, you have two psukim, two concepts that have the same word. We could learn one from the other, only of course if HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. It's not something that we, later on generations, decide, oh, they have a similar word. It says Vayidaber Moshe, it says Vayidaber Moshe, let's make Gzeira Shava. It doesn't work like that. So we have a Gzeira Shava that comes from Shemayim. Look at Akiva up there. I'm schluffing away. Okay. Yevamos is boring you? What's going on up there? No? Okay. It's time taking a little nap. Okay. At the edge. We don't have a... One day we'll get a makkah over there. It is a mitzvah. You want to be zoich in the mitzvah? Judah. There's a knas if you don't do it. The knas is you get malchus or something. They have to do a makkah. There's a remedy. Woo! Unbelievable. Let's try this out. Today he put his finger in it. I know that it's not hot. New York cop's fingers. Geschmack. And it is hot. This thing is cold, by the way. It works, yeah. Okay. Zweiter. No, we gotta go. We don't have time. Okay. No Matzah Shabbos. So, if you look at the chart, I showed this before, but we'll show the other ones as well. We have, in Pesach, we have the word mimenu 3 times. Al toichlu mimenu na, v'leisisiru mimenu, ad boiker, v'hanoisim mimenu. 3 mimenus. Now, when you have Gzeira Shava, you have 2 things. You have the word mimenu here, you have the word this. You're learning one thing from the other. You're learning Meiser from Pesach that an Oral cannot eat Meiser Sheni because it says Mefurish by Pesach. But these words have to be completely extra. Without the Gzeira Shava, you wouldn't know what to do with the word. It doesn't belong there. So the Gemara says, yes, they're extra. Because if they're not extra, anytime you don't have an extra word and you have Gzeira Shava, there's a way to break the Gzeira Shava by asking a good question. And you'll ask, Korban Pesach, if you think by the shchita, by the kabbalah of the dam, by the hatzlacha, by the zrika, you think to yourself that you're going to eat it on Chol HaMoed, it's pigul, and if you do eat that Korban Pesach, you chayav kares, v'noisar, and if you leave over the Korban Pesach, you eat from it chayav kares, v'tamei, you eat the Korban Pesach when you're tamei, you chayav kares, but you don't have that by meiser sheni, so therefore you can't learn one from the other. Says the Gemara, lai, again, the same exact lashon all over Shas. True, emes. It is extra. What's extra? It says it 3 times. One is saying that we're talking about the Pesach and not what? Matzu Mara, that's right before, the Pasuk before. That's it. Pasuk Yud, that's the extra one. Why does it say Mimenu? We're talking about Korban Pesach. Why Mimenu? Why do you have to repeat the word Mimenu over and over? One is to tell you Mimenu and not Matzah Mara. Okay, great. But the next one is extra, and that's the only extra one out of 6. Because Meiser Sheni also has 3, and they're not extra at all. I'm pointing it out because that middle one is the only extra one, and if you only have 1 mufna, it's not good enough. You need 2 mufnas on both sides. And the mando, it's to tell us that it's a lav shenitik la'aseh. And so what if it's a aseh that comes after a lav? Such a lav you don't get malchus on. It's similar to an aseh which you don't get malchus.
But you can learn, just not when there's kashas.
Okay, yeah. We'll see, according to one man domer only. Yeah. Either siv, yeah, you could have Xer Shah doesn't have mufna at all, but then you could have a kasha. We asked the kasha. We have Pickle Noiser and Tameh. Says Gemara, so since it already says, it says Noiser, talks about Noiser, so it also says, sticks in the word mimenu. Okay. Agav, to mimic the other. To teach us that when you burn this Noiser, you don't burn it on Yontiv, you always burn it the next day on Chalamayit. Either siv, you never burn karbanis on Yontiv. Either siv, ad boiker ksiv nami mimenu. Okay. Says the Gemara, tlas mimenu ksivi b'maiser. So now we go to maiser lechalti boini mimenu. V'loi be'arti mimenu b'tamei. V'loi nesati mimenu l'meis. Chad gufei. One is for itself, because maiser nafkimi between maiser rishon and maiser sheni. V'chad l'deribavo omer b'yochanan, which we learned before. Not, he says, he darshans mimenu, but not for truma. That if there's truma tmeya, you could use it as fuel. V'chad l'rishlakish. What's the third one for? So all three are taken. The Amr Shlakish, Amr Simai, Minay Maiser Sheni Shinitma, Shemut L'Suchai. If you have Maiser Sheni oil that became Tameh, you're allowed to use it to anoint yourself. Shenemar V'Loi Nasati Mimenu L'Meis. You're saying by Maiser Sheni, I didn't give it to the dead. L'Meis V'Loi Nasati Halachai, Dumi L'Meis Nasati. What can you give to a live person that's similar to what you'd give a dead person? You can't feed a dead person. He doesn't eat. So what does a dead person do? It's to anoint. But you could purchase with the Maiser Sheni things for the dead. We're talking about the Maiser itself. What can you do with the Maiser itself? Not to sell it and use the money for it. Okay. Another proof, not because mimenu, but we're talking about the Maiser itself. But at the end of the day, 1 out of 6 is extra. But I need extra mimenu on Maiser Sheni as well, and I don't have. If I could answer, I could slug up the Xer Shava, what am I going to do? Says Gemara, this idea that the Truma Tmeya, I'm mutter to use it as fuel, I don't need a mimenu. Mid the Rav Nachman Omer Rav Baravu, and after I can learn from somewhere else. Rav Nachman Omer Rav Baravu, my dechsiv. Bani nei nasati l'chas mishmeres trumoy soy. I gave the mishmeres the plural trumas. What's plural? B'shtei trumas achas medaber. I'm talking about 2 trumas achas trumas tahira, achas trumas tmeya. V'omer rachmana l'cha. It should be for you. Shulchati al asaka. You can use it for fuel. Tachas dav shilcha. V'chal atmeim says that all those who are tamei, they cannot eat truma. How do we know? Amar B'yachan, Amar Shmuel, B'Shmuel, Amar Kra, Ishish, Mezera Aaron, V'utzarua, Oizav, V'goymer. It says in the pasuk, Ishish, Mezera Aaron, V'utzarua. What kind of tzarua? There's different types of mitzarayim. There's a muzgar and a muchlat. Oizav. There's different types of zavs. We don't know yet. He cannot eat kachim. We don't know what kachim is. What is kachim? Kachim could be meiser, truma. It could be a carbon. What is kachim? And it says, Ada Shiyitar, he has to go to the mikvah. V'goymer, Ezu davar, sheshavad afayin daladam and beis, bizarre shel Aaron. What is equal in it? Ishish mizera Aaron. All his descendants, girls, boys, everybody. Haviyoymer zu truma. It can't be a carbon, because carbon is only boys. So it must be truma. And it's telling me that if you're tamei, you can't eat from it. So here you see a pasuk that tuma tmeya, if you're tamei, you can't eat. Sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of the Gold Star Multi-Donut. Sponsored in honor of Eli Weinberg lives. He's changing. Says the Gemara, ve'ema b'chaz v'shoik. Maybe the whole pasuk is saying, who could get chaz v'shoik? Women could also eat chaz v'shoik. Remember that gift, not the gift I gave Yedidya, but the chaz v'shoik, the breast and the thigh, by shlamim. So maybe the pasuk is talking about that. It can't be tummy. Says the Gemara, it can't be. Why? Because there are some women that cannot eat chaz v'shoik. If a woman gets married and she marries a Yisrael, if she has children from the Yisrael, she can never eat. If she gets divorced, she comes back to her father, she can't eat chaz v'shoik. She can't eat chaz v'shoik. Right? We had it a few daf ago, like a week ago. Truma nami eina b'chalala, says the Gemara. Okay, so you tell me regular truma, it doesn't apply to all women either. You have a woman, a chalala, who had relations, let's say with a guy, whatever. Chalala. She married a divorcee, married a kahn. She becomes a chalala. She also can't eat truma. So it doesn't apply to all women. Says the Gemara, chalala lav zari da'arinhi. I hope my friend is not listening to this. He does the daf. A chalal is not a kahn. Finished. And they throw him out. He's not a kahn. We're talking about real kohanim. Kohanim, a woman kahn who comes back can't eat chaz v'shoy. A woman halal is not a kohen anymore. Says Gemara, right? This pasuk, if you're tameh, you can't eat until you go to the mikvah, until harav shemesh, until nightfall. Perhaps this pasuk is talking about the following morning when you bring a carbon. Maybe you have to wait even longer. Then you can eat truma. Says Gemara, when you look at the green over here, tsurua zav, what are we talking about? So the very Bishmal say we're talking about a tsurua, a musgar, not a mukhlat. So in the first time that the kohen puts him and says he wants to check him out, and then he heals, he doesn't have to bring korbanos. The same thing with a zav. Check this out. This is the older chart of zav, but just to do chazar, why not? If a man sees ziva, which is like a disease, sort of, one time he's like a balkari. So he goes to the mikvah, it becomes tar right away. But if he sees 2 times or 3 times, it's the same thing. 2 riyas, 3 years, the same thing. There's one difference. They have to wait 7 clean days. The difference is that if you see 3 times after the 7th day, on the 8th morning, he brings a carbon. He's a mechusar kippurim. The guy that sees 2 riyas doesn't have to bring a carbon. Says the very Shmuel, this pasuk. Tzarua zav, we're talking about a zav only 2 riyas. No carbon. Tzarua, no carbon. It's not a mukhla that has to bring a carbon. It's a musgar that doesn't have to bring a... We're talking about the lighter type. That's what the pasuk is talking about. Memela, and how does he know it? Dumi the tmei nefesh. The guy that touches, that goes to lavaya, touches the body, and he has to wait 7 days to become tar, and they sprinkle it in with the mechatas. Does he have to bring a carbon? He doesn't have to bring a carbon. So also a zav, we're talking about the type of zav that doesn't have to bring a carbon. Tzura that doesn't have to bring a carbon. Says Gemara, 2 questions. Okay, fine. This pasuk, Ish Mizera Aaron with Tzura, is talking about such a case. That he doesn't have to bring a carbon. But maybe a tzarua, a mukhlat, that does have to bring a carbon, a zav who saw 3 years, that does have to bring a carbon, maybe this pasuk is not talking about him. And in fact, he would have to bring the carbon in order to eat truma. Who told you not? Visu, another question, we learned in the Mishnah about a mitzayra. He goes down into the mikvah, comes out, starts eating meiser sheni. Heriv, shimshoy, it's 3 steps. At nightfall, he could step it up. He could do, what's more chamer than meiser sheni? Truma. So after nightfall, he could start eating truma. What's more chamer than truma? Kachim. Heavy karpara, once he brings his carbon in the morning. Oichel kachim. Minalan. How do you know this? From this pasuk you don't see it. Omar Rav Chizda. So Rav is coming in the name of Rav Chizda to answer the last question. How do I know there's 3 steps? The Mitzayra goes into the mikvah, he comes out, starts eating meiser sheni. 5 hours later, by Shkia, starts eating truma. 12 hours later in the morning, he starts eating kachim. How do you know this? Says Gemara, check it out. 3 psukim. That must be meiser sheni. So it says in the pasuk, Rachatz b'sari, goes to the mikvah. Right away he has a tara. I have a contradiction. It says, you have to wait until Shkia. Which one is it? Mikvah or Shkia? Red and blue are a contradiction. They're not a contradiction. The first one is Meiser Shein, the second one is Truma. Let's go to the next pasuk, third pasuk. The pasuk says that you have to get a kapara, you have to bring a carbon. Which one is it? Mikvah, Shkia, or carbon? All three. Ask the Gemara ve'ebachana. Well, Misvara, look, it fits in beautifully. Meiser Sheni is the least chomer, so mikvah is enough. The next one in line is Truma, so Shkia is enough. The most chomer, the biggest kedusha is a carbon, so you need to bring a kapara. But the Gemara says ve'ebachana, maybe flip it around. Says the Gemara, Mistaber Truma Adifa Shekei Machpaz. What's Machpaz? Here we go. Misa, if you eat Truma, you get Misa, Chaimesh, Pidyon, Zarim. Okay. Says the Gemara, Adirabba, Meiser Adifa, Shekei Das Tav. Look, this is only 4. Check this out. 4. But what's the top one? Misa. Remember that one. Hadas Tav is not the first letters in all cases. You have to bring it to Yerushalayim, Vidui. It's Asr La'aynen, so we're using the Samach over there. Tuma, Biur, right? We went through this yesterday. Biur, which year? Rashi said 3rd and 6th, but it's really 4th and 7th. Okay, fine. But it's more. Now the Gemara's question is good. Before it was 4, and now it's 5. Let's say it's talking about Meiser. It says Gemara, in the 4, the top one beats out the 5, Misa, death, shows that it's more Chomer. I have another pshat. Omar Kro Nefesh. Let's go back all the way here. No, not here. Okay. It says in the pasuk Nefesh, Nefesh, even to Yisrael, not just the Kohen. What's equal? Avigayim is a Meiser. A Yisrael could eat Meiser Sheni, no problem. Says Gemara, Vakati. Okay, but Rava, if you remember, we had 2 questions. And Rava only answered the last one. Where do we know the Mishnah that there's 3 levels and he brought 3 psukim? But what about the first question? This pasuk, maybe it's only talking, the very small said, we're talking about a tzarua, the easy tzarua, the zav, the easy zav. But perhaps when we're talking about a serious zav that needs to bring a carbon, maybe he can't eat truma until he brings the carbon. I'm learning from Yeledis. By the way, I forgot to point it out. If you look at this pasuk in the bottom, we're talking about a woman here all of a sudden. And we're talking about a Yeledis. But she still has Tumah, we can learn from her. Ad Meloisi Meitahara. So we have also contradiction, sort of. It says she becomes Tahar, right? Girl, boy, depending what she gave birth to, 80 days, etc. Ad Meloisi Meitahara. Kivin Shamalu Yameha, once the days are over, Tahira. Uchsiv. On the flip side, it says, she has to bring a carbon. Is it the days? What is it? Okay, it says, Truma. So we must explain that for Truma, it's just the day goes by. Kachim, she has to wait until the next day and bring a carbon. Says Gemara Ve'epachana. Mistabra Kodesh Chamor, she came pancakes. So here's pancakes. Pigol noisa carbon, mi'ila, karas, asalainen. Adarabba, Truma Chamura, Shkei, Machpaz. That already is not such a great question, right? It's 6 against 4. Hanach Nefishin. Rav Omar, Hanach Nefishin, without the answer of 6 against 4. Le'motzes Amris. Omar Krova Chipar Aleha, Koim V'Tehera, Miklal Shi Tmeya. So the Torah says that she brings a carbon, then V'Tehera, then she becomes tar. Seems that she has some tumah. And if she's tar, maybe so that V'Kachim Ikri Kan. And if we're talking about kachim, it's usher to eat kachim if you're tamei. But truma, therefore, it's muchach that the pasuk is talking about truma, like we were talking about. Masculine sheisha b'reder avidi umimatzes amres truma ksiva. How can we say that this pasuk is talking about truma? V'tanya daber b'nei Yisrael. Ainly no, okay, fine. It's a new sugya. We'll start. It goes into Amud Aleph. We'll just do it perfect. 8 o'clock. Wow. Motzei Shabbos, what time, Rabbi Isai? What time was last? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Motzei Shabbos, which is 10:10. No. 10 o'clock. Beis Hashem, 10 o'clock. I always aim for 10. If there's a lot of stuff I need to print and do. Wow. You want to do that? Rabbi Isai, Motzei Shabbos, pizza time.